Hey everyone, welcome back to this episode of Kart Crazy. Digging into what might be our final episode of Mr. Rogers. Got a few things I'd like to button up, a few things I'd like to show you. Come along for the ride, let's get started. Alright, so this is going to be the first video with my new camera. I don't have the wireless mic yet. I'm waiting on that, so apologize if it's a little bit echoey. But my family got me a new pretty fancy camera for Christmas, and we're going to be using that for filming today, so I really appreciate them. But you may notice Mr. Rogers has some new shoes, and if you follow me on Kart Crazy, you got a little sneak peek of that the other day. These actually are not the wheels that I ordered. They're the right tires, but not the wheels. And I got a hold of the company, and I'm like, look, you know, I ordered this style, and I got this style. And they're like, well, I'll send them back, and we'll get you the right ones. And I'm like, well, they're not that bad. So they worked out a deal with me and gave me some money back, actually, and I was very happy about that. So I'm into these for about $150 more. And when I say these, I mean the whole set, lug nuts, center caps, tires, everything, for about $150 more than if I would have put tires on those old wheels. And I know this is meant to be a budget build, but I truly feel that tires and wheels really make a big difference when it comes to the looks of any vehicle, really, not just a golf cart. So I do have the original sweater basket on there, and I picked up one of these stealing back seat kits. I believe that's how you say that. I guess you be the judge. Right there it is. And these are, you know, they're made in China, which is, you know, not my favorite, but they're the only back seat kit that you can utilize the sweater basket with. And I really wanted to do that on this cart, just because I'm going to be using it personally for a little bit. And I prefer these roof supports over the cheap tin ones that you get when you buy the back seat kits. And that way my little pup can ride in the sweater basket. He likes to do that. So the things I want to work on today, probably not going to do this back seat kit depending on how much time we have. But I did pick up a new steering wheel and adapter off of Amazon, so we're going to throw that on. One of the main things I want to get done is figuring out the charging port for this, and I'll show you the idea that I have on that. It's actually going to be utilizing, and I may have talked about this a little bit in the last episode, it's actually going to be utilizing the original charging location, but I'm going to figure out a way to mount this Anderson plug-in, kind of maybe sticking out just like that, maybe about that far, so you can come and plug the charger right in here and never have to lift the seat. So that's my idea on that. If I didn't say it already, I grabbed a new windshield. I picked these mirrors up. These are a no-drill mirror made by Nokins. I saw those on another, I think it was another YouTube channel actually. So you can actually slide these up and down, not once they're clamped on, but you can put them wherever you want. The windshield still works. You don't have to drill or do anything like that, and they just clamp on. They also come with the adapters for 3/4 inch tube. This is a 1 inch tube. Most of the TXTs use a 3/4 inch tube, so if you have a TXT, you just use the adapters and you can use the mirrors. So we're going to tackle mainly those three things: windshield, steering wheel, and that charging port today. And we'll dig in here a little closer and I'll show you what I've got in mind. Actually, I can show you right now. This is one of the cables that came with one of the big battery setups, actually that 36 volt right there that I'm not using right now. So I may just cut this off and put some ends on it. You saw that one that's in the cart. I did buy that one on Amazon, but it's for 4-gauge cable, and I thought I had a bunch of 4-gauge cable, and I don't. I've got 6-gauge and I've got 2-gauge, so I may just use this one. Like I said, cut that, put some ends on there, and these you can actually bolt in. You see the hole through the center? So you can run like a 1/4 inch bolt through there. So I'm going to figure out an adapter plate or something to get that mounted so that it'll stay, because that way we can just plug our charger in and go. So I know I'm doing a lot of talking and not a lot of work, so let's get after it. All right, something I wanted to show y'all. There's a very specific windshield that I like to buy for these, and now I'm drawing a blank on, I think it's a Red Hawk, and I'm trying to remember the part number, but I can't off the top of my head. Actually, it might be on the box here now that I think about it. Yep, there it is. It's a 35-175, and the cheapest place I can find those is Ultimate Kart Parts, and there's a reason I buy this one. I think it was like 119 or 129, don't quote me, somewhere in there. There's other ones out there, you'll see them on eBay and, you know, Amazon, $89 and all this. Well, there's a reason for that, and you're gonna think I'm crazy, but I'm gonna show you, and you can probably see right there. I'm gonna hold this up as best I can. The one I'm holding is a 3/16. The one on the cart is a 1/4 inch. And you're like, well, that's not very much of a difference, but it is, because that 3/16 when it's on here, you can actually see with the naked eye almost that it's bowed. And what happens is they just bow in the center right here, and you're driving down the road and they just they rattle and they're flimsy and they make a bunch of noise and they're just not cool. Okay, so if you're looking for a decent windshield, spend the extra, I don't know, $30 or $40. I don't even think it's that much. I've seen these 3/16 ones at like $129, which is the same price I think as this one. So I know I'm rambling a lot, but I'm trying to get my point across. If you want a decent windshield, get that one. 35-175, I think it's a Red Hawk is the brand. And there's only a few select sites that I can actually find them on. So they're kind of hard to find. The only thing I'm a little disappointed on, and I think this happened in the last one too, like this one has the provision notched out for the bolt hole, and on this one I just rested it on there and kind of snugged it up. I don't want to take a chance of trying to drill through that. I imagine that would just spider and crack like crazy, being it's like an acrylic or whatever. But there's my plug for the windshields for today, and if you want a decent one, that's the one you need. So let's dig into this charger port a little bit and see what we can figure out. All right, so let's talk about my idea a little bit more. And in case you're wondering, these plugs are all over on Amazon. The only problem is they're the wrong size, okay? And I did get this one off of Amazon, but it takes a lot of searching. This is the, I don't know if you can see that. Try to get my camera to focus. SB175. If you get the SB50, it's going to be too small and nothing's going to interchange with your big battery. So you got to get the SB175. But I think I am going to do, I'm just going to take and cut this one apart, because I'll get more parts and just build a new one down the road anyway. So I've taken the original charger port completely out because, you know, obviously with the lithium conversion, we don't need any of the original wires, any of the original charging port, none of that. So my idea is I'm going to get this mounted in here. These just fit through here like it was made for it. And I want to get that something like that, so you're not hitting it with your legs and you can still plug the charger in. So now the only problem is, you know, do I come across here with you know, a piece of metal or something, and then make it so I can bend it down and drill through that. I could make it almost completely flat with a little bit of modification. A little piece of angle iron, and this wire doesn't need to be in here. This can come out, actually. That was for the brakes, which, you know, I never hook brake lights up on a golf cart. So back to my thought here. It's just a matter of getting it in there and getting it to where it'll snug up. So I've got to do some thinking on that. Probably just a piece of, like I said, a piece of angle iron or something on that. And then I'll go ahead and take my plugs, give myself a little slack here so I can keep that tucked out of the way. And we'll do, I'll put my ends on here for my charger port. So hopefully you're following with me so far. Alright, so I got my length marked out here with a magic marker. I'm going to cut this. I'm going to put these ends on. Luckily I found some 6-gauge ends. 3/8 hole, which is a little bit bigger. I should have a 5/16, but this will work in a pinch. So we'll cut that. I'll use my crimper, crimp the ends on, put a little heat shrink on there, and then we'll have our charger port. Alright, got my ends crimped on here, and I'm going to go ahead and throw some heat shrink around these just to keep the ends protected. I like to do that, keep everything from fraying. We'll heat those up, shrink those down, and we'll be ready to install. Alright, there we go. I like to buy the little better quality heat shrink. There's a little bit of glue and adhesive that kind of comes out as you warm it up. This negative maybe could use a touch more heat, but anyway, there's our end, and we can go from there. Alright, so kind of show you what I got done here. I found a piece of angle iron aluminum that I had laying around, and I had to bend it just a little bit. Let me see if I can get the camera down in here. You can see where I've got it bolted through the Anderson plug. I put it at just a little bit of an angle. My thought process is I put it so that the positive and negative were showing, so that way when you go to plug it in, there's no confusion. It's nice and solid. You can plug in the charger, no problem. Just ran a couple of self-tappers in back here to hold it nice and rigid. And then what I'll do, I made these long enough where I can tuck them off, and I'll get this all zip tied up and everything, tuck this all up, clean everything up real nice. What that does is it leaves a nice storage area for the new owner. I could have come just, you know, straight across here and had it like that, but you know, people will go and throw stuff in here and take a chance of messing that up. So I made it long enough where we can come over and around and then get it plugged in. So super happy with the way that turned out. Wasn't that hard at all. Like I said, just found a piece of scrap laying around that worked, being that they have the hole already in them. So now it's just a matter of plugging an extension cord in and charging it up. Of course, I don't have it hooked up here yet, but you get the idea. So we'll keep going and swap this windshield over. We should be in good shape. I do have a battery indicator that I want to put in place of the old one. I've got to dig that up. It's somewhere. But other than that, this one is close to being done. All right, trying out some new equipment. Got my wireless mic, and we're going to play around with that a little bit. Hopefully that helps with the echo problem here in the garage. And, oh, there's Jordy. He came out to help. It's several days later. We left off with the charger port, got that all figured out. I did buy new rockers for this. I want to grab those. They're in the other room and put those on. These were a little chewed up and kind of misshaped. And then I want to put the steering wheel on, and that's probably going to complete the Mr. Rogers build. I do have a back seat kit over there, but I'm not going to put it on right now. Just kind of enjoying the cart the way it is, running around the neighborhood a little bit with it. This one's not going to be for sale for a little while. My intent is to sell it, but I've got to get that one done first, and I'll give you a little sneak peek on that. So right here is the heavy-duty solenoid and the wiring harness I need to convert it over to a Navita system. I did end up buying a new battery tray. We'll talk about that in the video. I don't want to give too many spoilers away here, but then in the corner here I've got my Navitas motor, controller, and everything in that box. So I'll give you a little sneak peek on that. That's what's next on the menu for Kart Crazy. But let's finish this one up, and I'll show you a couple tricks that I did on here as well. All right, so I wanted to show you this trick. If you remember when we pulled this cart apart, it had just terrible rusty and corroded hardware on the floor. Not so much on the floor, but around the pedal area and then in the battery tray. Almost didn't get those out. They were so corroded. So I stopped down at the local hardware store, and of course, if you remember, the bolts that come out of this frame, they're a real fine thread, and they only had these, and I thought, well, I'll give them a try, and they actually work really good. So I was able to replace the hardware. You remember there from a previous video, I actually broke that ear off, so I just put a fender washer, and that seems to be working fine. This cart doesn't have the factory floor mat in it because it was so chewed up and deteriorated. I just threw it away, and it's really not necessary with this aftermarket mat because you can just go over the top. The rocker panels, or some people call them the floor retainer, these I've just kind of got sitting on here because they're the old ones, but you can see like these clips will break off of the original panel, but the new rocker panels come with all new clips. So we'll get these out of the way and make sure everything's ready. Like here's another one here, and then we'll be able to pop the new rocker on. Then we can put our cover that comes down, and there's a little 10 millimeter bolt that holds that part on. So we'll do that. We'll get both sides of the rockers on, and then we'll go ahead and replace this steering wheel. And I'll show you a couple tricks on that as well. All right, thank goodness for the miracles of editing. That took way too long. This one absolutely would not go in up here, so just some patience, and still got to put my bolt in there. And then I ran the original screws back in here. Now you can hit these with paint before you do it, or a black magic marker when you're done, or you know, not worry about it because the floor covers most of it. You've got options there. There is one extra hole here, and a Christmas tree push style plastic pin would probably work. What I might do is just maybe a quick little rivet or a self tapper or something there, but that'll hold that on nice, and we'll just repeat the process for the other side. And I see that's what I did on this one, was a small Christmas tree pin, and that seems to be working really good, so I might just have to find another one for the other side. Okay, well that side went way better. Still got to find a little something for this back slot right here. Like I said, probably a self-tapper or maybe even a rivet, but the rocker panels are done and on there. We'll go ahead and throw this new steering wheel on, and we should be done for today. Now, maybe this is the only upgrade you're doing on your cart right now. I've seen a lot of comments online. You know, it's pretty simple. Take the 2 screws out of the back to get this cover off. Take the big center nut out of the middle, and then they say, well, I can't get my steering wheel off. And that's true. That does happen sometimes. And I don't know how tight this one's going to be. That one popped right off. Sometimes what will happen is they'll get stuck. So what you'll want to do is, sometimes you can get your knees under here, leave the nut partially in, or the bolt, and then you can, as you're prying or have someone help you, pry up on the steering wheel and hit that center shaft with like a mallet or even a hammer, as long as you don't damage your bolt. And with the force of that and the shock of the hammer, a lot of times they'll pop loose. Thankfully, this one came off pretty easy. As far as the steering wheel goes, I just jumped on Amazon and got a cheap one. Again, going back to our budget build theory, I did notice I had the wheels cranked. You want to get the wheels straight as possible, because when you put that new steering wheel on, you don't want it to be off center. Now, this steering wheel was a little off center coming into this project, so we definitely want to make sure we get it as center as possible. You can always take up the adjustment in the rack and pinion, but that becomes a little more involved because then you're messing with the alignment and everything else. This alignment on this cart looks pretty decent, so I'd rather not do that if you can. And if you can read Chinese, you can read the newspaper that they wrapped it up in, so that's always handy. So just kind of do a test run. What you'll want to do, these come with a holder on the back to hold the bolts from falling out. So you might have to pull this on and off a couple times. So you don't want to just slap this on and put the nut in and then think you're good, because you may have to clock it and turn it one way or the other. So we'll experiment a little bit here and see if we can get it straight. So it looks like my first guess was pretty close. So I'm going to go ahead and go for it here. I could be off, but worst case scenario, we'll have to pull it back apart. It does come with a little Allen key. Of course, you can use your own if you'd rather, which might be a good idea because these have a tendency to strip out pretty easily. They're just cheap hardware, and of course a cheap Allen wrench that comes with it. So you just have to be careful. All right, that went pretty easy, and got our steering wheel. I think it's pretty straight. We'll know more when we go for a test drive. Can always make some adjustments on that later. One thing I just remembered, I do want to put the battery gauge in yet. I didn't get that done, but of course you can always lift the seat and check the condition of the battery, but I do want to put a gauge in before I sell this one. So as far as Mr. Rogers goes, I think this is probably going to be the last video. I may do one on the rear seat kit install just for anyone who might be wondering how to do that. But yeah, for the most part, pretty happy with it. So, you know, we put a new windshield on, we put our side mirrors on, new roof direct from Club Car from the local dealer. I recovered the seats, and new wheels and tires. We talked about that. And really happy with the way it turned out, considering what it was. You know, basically pulled it out of a barn. It was full of dirt daubers and, you know, mud, a lot of mud. You remember the videos of pressure washing and doing that. Still got to give it a little buffing. There's some scratches and stuff. I've got some scratch compound I'll probably try to do on that. Probably not showing up in the video, but that's it for Mr. Rogers. Well, that's going to do it for this episode and this build. I really appreciate you all coming along on our journey with Mr. Rogers. Hope you enjoyed it. Next up is our Navitas build on our E-Z-Go, which is sitting right here. I've got most of the parts ordered. I've got to get a few more ordered, and we'll get going on that here, hopefully in the next week or two. Make sure you check my Facebook page out, Kart Crazy, if you haven't done that already, and also head on over to bigbattery.com and get your lithium set up for your cart. Save yourself 10% with my promo code. We'll see you next time.